Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. Number one, my allergies are rocking my world today. They're absolutely killing me. Second off, I have a review here for Jugface, which came out in 2013, 10 years ago. Jesus. It's about an hour and 20 minutes long, really like an hour and 15 minutes. It flies by on the pacing because of that. Also because the script is not super developed. It's not super thorough about its content or anything plot-wise. Jugface has a cool poster, as I posted on my thumbnail, and I've always seen this on streaming, left and right, all of my life. Like, for the last 10 years, I've seen this show up on streaming, like Netflix, Tubi, whatever, and I never got around to checking it out. I just kept putting it off and putting it off, and finally I decided, you know what, I'm gonna try it out. And I watched it, I think, on Shudder. It was either Shudder or Tubi. I saw this on about a couple of weeks ago. I just haven't gotten around to making the video. Couldn't get motivated for whatever reason. I've actually recorded this review a couple of times, and here I am, finally making the video. But Jugface was a very weird flick that I think could have benefited from a lot of different things I'm going to talk about. Number one, what is the film about? Well, Jugface is essentially about a group of folks, kind of like a small Amish type of civilization, but not really. They have like electronic stuff they use and whatever, like TV. They live out in the middle of nowhere, like in the woods, like deep in the woods. And they're kind of a small, again, kind of an Amish type of community that focuses on just their small civilization. Everybody has a certain talent in this area, this neighborhood, if you want to call it that. And they worship this pit in the ground that has some liquid in the bottom of it. It's kind of their god, if you will. They are not Christian or anything like that. They're kind of more pagan than anything, basically. But anyway, they worship this pit. It apparently heals their blights and whatever like that. If they have a sickness or anything, they can usually make some kind of sacrifice that the pit wants them to make and heal their community, heal themselves, heal their illnesses, whatever. Now, there is like a prophet, basically, that looks like Rainn Wilson from The Office, who plays Dwight Schrute. He looks a lot like Dwight Schrute in like a very Beat Farmish getup, if you will. He is kind of their prophet, and he gets this image in his head a lot of the time when he's asleep that'll tell him what the next sacrifice is supposed to be according to the pit communicating with him, and he'll have to take that face and make it into a jug that supposedly looks just like the person that he's supposed to help the community sacrifice to the pit. And that's some bullshit, because a lot of these jugs, like the title Jugface, they don't look like the people, like ever. There's one that they're like, hey, this looks exactly like this chick, and it's like, that looks like every woman in your entire community. But anyway, so we follow a young woman who happens to be sleeping with her brother. Yeah. You can imagine my shock when I realized they were brother and sister very early on to this very short movie. She gets impregnated by her brother after a lot of their little secret goings out into the wilderness together. And she finds out that she is the next Jugface that is supposed to be sacrificed. And basically the jug gets lost. And she may or may not be involved with that. Basically, she tries to protect herself to protect her baby, even though it's her brother's baby. It's very odd. But she tries to protect herself because of her child. And she takes care of her grandfather and stuff. Her parents are a little strict, like a really kind of strict. I like the dad. I've seen this guy somewhere else. I've tried to look on his IMDb. His picture looks familiar. I know I've seen him in other things. He's a good actor, by the way. There's also somebody else in the film, too. I cannot remember who it was. I think whoever played the mom. Sean Young from Blade Runner, that's who it was. She was good in here too. But our main chick was actually really, really solid. Her performance was very good. She really carried the film, if anything, of trying to be a young woman who's about to become a mother and who is in panic mode. She doesn't know how to tell her family this, and this community kind of values like virginity and that kind of thing. But anyway, it is a very weird film, as you can already tell. It is not really filled with a bunch of surprises, aside from the obvious I already told you. And you expect that more out of this kind of film. It's kind of a cult, small community movie. You expect a lot more out of that too. And it really doesn't go that deep into that. It kind of does, but kind of not. It kind of becomes an us versus them type of scenario. We follow this young woman, like I said. I really like her. I think her performance is really good. Very realistic, by the way. I really like a lot of the film, if I'm being honest with you. But it kind of, at the end of the day, kind of falls apart, mainly because I'm going to kind of tell you this, and I don't really think it's a big spoiler. The film maintains this potential supernatural element, and I really think that harms it a lot. I really think that they should have just played it straight, like kind of straightforward, very vague on whether the supernatural elements were real or not. And I think the best way they could have saved this film is to not have any supernatural stuff at all because of a particular character that comes in later on who has to have like CGI black aura, like a black Super Saiyan type of thing around him. And it gets really stupid when you see that shit because the view of the film, the cinematography, the directing of it, with the woods and everything else, the small community, it looks real and it looks good for the kind of budget they had for this film. The performances are very realistic. I like all of that. There's a couple of times you have pretty much not a whole lot of gore in the film, but there are practical effects done for the film that look fantastic, and the very few times they have to be in here, a lot of the killing and stuff is off screen. But when you see the aftermath, it looks good, in the sense of like it looks real, you know? But that CGI element that's in there for like 10% of the movie looks bad, looks really bad, and it kind of affects your overall opinion of the film, I think. At least for me it did. Maybe not for you, but for me it absolutely took me out of the film immediately. The writing of the characters are pretty solid for what the film is trying to do, and again, those performances kind of match that pretty well too. That's really what this movie was riding on. And when you have a horror film that's really trying to do that, or any kind of film at all for that matter, you want to make sure that you put as much of an effort to make that the forefront of the movie, more than anything, and do it perfectly. If you don't have great CGI budgeting, don't do it. Don't do it. It's just the riskiest thing you could do, and it will probably ruin the drama in a movie. And Jugface is kind of guilty of that, if I'm being honest with you. It kind of ruins itself because of the lack of budget it had. Which is a shame. You know, a lot of films that could be a lot better have that problem, and I understand it's not really something I can blame them for. They're doing the best they can. But it will affect your film. The smartest choice is to just not do that. For any wannabe filmmakers out there, just, if you don't have a huge budget, do not do CGI. Just avoid it altogether. My nose won't stop running today. Anyway, the music in the film is really the last thing I want to comment on. It's kind of like a southern type of, not really bluegrass, but kind of like a southern blues-ish type of thing. And I like it, but it's not the best. It suits this movie, is really the best way to put it as a compliment. It suits this movie and the kind of tone the film has. It is a very straight, serious movie, without a lot of whole subtlety to it. And again, I wish the supernatural element wasn't in here. I really think that would have helped it a lot as an overall project. But overall, if I'm being honest with you, I think it's kind of a mess. And I think that it will have its audience. If you like these kind of small-town cult type of movies, if you like that kind of story, this might be for you. If you don't mind the supernatural element, you might like it a lot more than I do. But overall, I was entertained. I didn't hate it at all. I had a good time with the movie, for the most part. It's a little weird, like I said, with the whole brother-sister incest thing. But I had a good time, I gotta admit. If I had to rate the film on a 5-star basis, I'd probably give Jugface probably a 3 out of 5. It's a mess, like I said, and I feel bad about saying that because I understand, you know, filmmakers have limitations, especially indie filmmakers like this guy who made this. But it affected the film a lot because of poor choices. I'm sorry, it's just true. But anyway, have you seen Jugface from 2013? What do you think about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down in the comment section down below. Did you love this? Did you hate it? I'd love to hear all that too. Anyway, thank you all for watching. God bless you guys, and goodbye.